Welcome to the Farm to School podcast, where you will hear stories on how youth thrive and farmers prosper when we learn how to grow, cook, and eat delicious, nutritious, local food in schools. We're your hosts, everybody. Shh, not yet. We're your hosts. I'm Rick.
I had coffee. This is Michelle.
Okay.
Marcus Stein.
And here we are. So, Michelle.
Yes, Rick.
I heard a story. Let me shut off my music. I heard a story on how school gardens was only for young girls. What do you think about that?
Right. We had been talking about that. It's something I actually heard probably 11-year-old boys say in a school garden, maybe.
When? What?
Yeah.
When was this?
Probably 15 years ago. So probably in 2009, 2010. I was a school garden volunteer for a long time, even before I had kids, and different things. And, you get gardening with kids. And I just heard this teen boys, gardening's for little girls.
Okay. You said a teen boy. I get it now because I student taught in school, and I taught at the junior high level, and it was great because junior high kids, they hadn't figured it out yet how to be cool. But when I was in high schools doing, I was a phys ed PE teacher, and they were too cool to run, so it was no, the girls are looking at my hair has to be just right, man,
So girls were too cool to run, but boys would run?
No. The boys were too cool they had to be too cool. But in junior high, they were show me where to go and I will beat you there. I don't care how I look. They just were fun all the time. They're all about fun until they got the cool gene, I think, in high school, and then, so I get that when you had a teenager that was they can be like that, I guess, right?
So there's a cool gene for the garden.
I guess I just say I could relate because of my teaching experience. It was I had a lot more, the younger you went, the more kids to me seem more easy to try things.
There you go. And so imagine your tweens that you were coaching. What were things you did coaching that really engaged them?
It had to be a game. I had to make it fun. I wouldn't just say, we're going to learn about insects in the garden. We're going to say, we're going to have a contest to see who could find the most. And the one that gets it is going to get a really cool thing. I mean, I don't know what was ever in my,
interesting,
a quarter in my pocket. I don't know, something. But, and then they would, if you made anything into a game, they liked it. So you had to be tricky, I guess. That's just off the top of my head.
Well, a lot has changed in the last 15 years, but, back in 10-ish days, a little before that, I started looking at gardening things for youth. And, the technical term is content analysis and marketing. Thematic units did a qualitative analysis of different marketing messages.
My eyes are glazing over.
Rick is, I was just about to say, his eyes are totally glazing over.
Anyway,
they were rolling.
I'm sure all the smart people out there
they were rolling in the back of his head. No, this is really interesting, actually, because if you look at that and things that sold the most, they're super girly, super pink. They were super infantile. They were largely pink and odd shades of green and never botanically accurate, which really bothered me. And the other big thing I really noticed is, being in the garden with youth, but then also looking, when you really start looking at the air quotes tools for kids, they're really toys. They tend to be miniaturized versions of adult tools. Just picture the shovel, picture the trowel, picture the rake. And they do not at all take into account how youth interact with the earth.
And they might break after 3 uses or something too. They're cheap plastic or
poor materials. Yeah, poor quality. Yeah. Well, it really strikes me as reinforcing this theme of youth don't have a meaningful role to play in our society. Think of all the way, even your generation and others. Didn't you used to work in the strawberry fields?
I did. My whole youth. I started in 3rd grade. I made $24 my first summer. Stuck? Are they just they can't work in the garden, or what's the solution for them?
Well, one solution we came up with is actually we did a couple of different things. And one was just start from the beginning of rebranding.
Who's we when you said we?
Oh, that's a good thing. I always use the royal we because a lot of times it's me.
The royal we. I've never heard that term, I don't think. The royal we.
The royal we. And amazing colleague, Joelle Chismar, her son, Kai Bowen, when he was 13, I met him, and he is a youth illustrator. He does his things. And so he started drawing fruits and vegetables. And then I was at the school garden club where we are located, me and the teachers and a bunch of parents.
So real we this time.
Now we're in more we's. The we's have expanded. And me, trained youth on how to do focus groups because I love data. And so the youth did focus groups on all the different vegetables and fruits that Kai was drawing and then gave him direct feedback. And so we started like rebranding, redrafting produce items. So as Kai was drawing these and we were getting feedback from the middle school youth, it started really looking at more of a review. This goes into data stuff, but like looking at taxonomies of different eyes, mouths, and nose across different races and ethnicities. And so doing like more of a cross-disciplinary literature review on like facial perceptions. So our brains are extraordinary at reading so much information from a face. Mm-hmm. And so, looking at psychology and other marketing and communications, and even like trying to learn what I could from neuroscience, like pouring that all into these fruits and vegetable characters.
Okay, so characters for fruits and vegetables. I was wondering where the connection came in here. So you're making faces. I think you said that actually, but I was probably still glossing over.
Very possible. I didn't. Okay. What we're talking about right now, everyone, is that Michelle spent 10 years of her life, with other people, developing a whole new set of characters called Rootopia characters, 44, it's even more than that, fruits and vegetable characters that are, ethnic, nondescript. They are, they cover a wide variety of, plant parts. And as opposed to all other marketing in this category, not all of them have a smiley, happy face. Not everything's okay. People are not always okay. And we have and it's perfect for this age group of tweens because that is when they're experiencing a wider range of emotions, right? And so that was one of the reasons we spoke to them. And then we did a whole bunch of things. We applied these characters and pilots to evergreen extension content, like recipes and gardening content. And then I've been layering in more social emotional learning. So for emotional regulation and other kinds of things.
So a lot of thought went into this. It wasn't just like, let's draw some goofy faces on a radish. It was like to be really thoughtful about, expression, like you said, nondescript ethnicity. So it wouldn't like look like a certain person or anything, but yeah.
Well, and actually, this is a really great example, now that we're talking about it like this, is that I also had a lot of iterative rounds of review. And one of them was the Oregon State University's Indigenous Peoples Work Group. Mm-hmm. And so they reviewed them, and this is they were looking at the cauliflower one, and I can put pictures of this on our website if you want to see. But at the time, the one I had, they said, wait, are we creating the perception elders are silly or goofy? And I thought, I didn't see that. Mm-hmm. But somebody else did. It was like, once they said it, I was like, I could see how that cauliflower looks goofy because its tongue was sticking out. So we updated the illustration to be respectful and stately. And, the reality is there's so many small illustrative gestures you can change that can make an enormous difference in how students perceive each character. So besides the taxonomy of the faces, my final review was around botanical accuracy. Like I know my plants, and, just so much of the imagery in gardening messages I mentioned earlier is infantile and inaccurate, and it drives me crazy. So anyway, I was very specific about leaf structure, attachment, venation, margins, all those dorky botanical things that I love. And then we had this like whole family of Rootopia characters.
And so what did you do with that family of characters? How do you integrate them into Farm to School?
That's a great question. I was like, now what do I do? If anyone has any ideas, just click on the contact us form. No, seriously. A couple things is, one, I just wanted to test their application. And so put them in a book. We did a Rootopia radish book just about garden, kitchen, table. It's a whole field notes edition series that we're coming up with of classroom activities, word puzzles, things that really encourage exploring with their multiple senses. So we piloted that in a lot of different settings. So, like 1, do kids like it? Yes. 2, is it useful to educators? Yes. And we did camps. We did after school programming, summer programming, 4-H, I kind of mentioned that, SNAP Ed programming. And even one educator in a county in multiple places used it for parenting classes.
And it went out to pretty much, I know it went out to hundreds of schools in Oregon. I'm trying to remember.
Our first run was 6,000.
Yeah.
And then the other thing besides, in this podcast, we were talking more about what's the bleeding edge of farm to school and school garden work. As we talk more and more, it's about social emotional learning in the garden. So that's what we included, some activities really to kind of nudge, rest and digest, really kind of nudge participants' nervous system towards more of a relaxed state. Because kids are pretty anxious these days, and the educational setting can be anxious, and the garden can be a great place to just be calmer and learn better.
Okay, so Michelle, so you have all these characters now. Everyone loves them, right?
Actually, not everyone. And I tend to say if I meet someone who's an older generation, I would put myself in that category, and says, I don't really like them. My thought is like, well, good, because they're not for you. But I will say tweens love them.
Okay.
So youth are savvy consumers of visual and verbal marketing. And the more work that we do in school gardens and farms at school, we need to be more savvy and niche focused.
Yeah.
So the Rootopia characters are one way that people can reach a tween audience.
Okay. Well, I can honestly say you throw something out there and you've heard that tale. You've heard the saying that you can't please everybody, right? You can please some of the people some of the times, but not all the people all the times. The only thing that I found universally that's accepted everywhere is what we do, farm to school, because everyone wins. But in that thing, it's like you create things. Some things hit a chord with people, and others don't, and then you move on.
Well, it's actually more sophisticated than that.
Do tell.
Okay. Well, I kind of did, but I'm going to say it again, is that a lot of times we adults make things we like, and then
for us,
even though we think we're making them for youth. Yeah. And it is totally different to work with youth and design something that I don't necessarily resonate with. I love the process behind it, but it's not something I would have created or I would have had created for myself. And that's the point, is that these Rootopia characters are for youth, by youth, and that's why they resonate.
So, Michelle, where can one go? Where can we go to find more about this stuff?
The Royal We can always go to Rootopia.com, which actually takes you to Oregon State University's website, and just get in touch with me. I'd love to connect with you and as we figure out and grow how to apply it to different things.
Okay. I've been acting like I don't know about this, but Michelle was... showed me these every step of the way for the last couple of years, and I was able to make suggestions myself. So I was able to see them, and I just want to say thank you and how wonderful, and I think they're cute and stuff, so I think they're really good, and I can't wait to see what comes next for them in our world. So I really want to thank you for that.
Thanks,
so thank you.
That means a lot. Appreciate it.
And thanks everybody for listening today. Thanks so much, Michelle, for being my guest, and I'll be your guest because we didn't have anybody today. Surprise.
That's
Farm to School was written, directed,
I thought it was a good topic. Okay, go ahead. No, that's good. Yeah, keep going.
Farm to School was written, directed, and produced by Rick Sherman and Michelle Markiston with production support from Leanne Locker of Oregon State University. The podcast was made possible by a grant by the United States Department of Agriculture.
And the content and ideas of the Farm to School podcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Oregon State University or the United States Department of Agriculture. The USDA and Oregon State University are equal opportunity providers and employers.
Do you want to learn more about Farm to School? Check out other episodes, show notes, contact information, and much more by searching Farm to School Podcast OSU.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to hear and connect with you more about Rootopia characters. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.